Hi, this is Ruth Brunner again, and I am with Judy Firestien, and daughter of Bruce, and she's been very active in the history of Bracewell. And behind us, I can zoom in, we even have the plaque that makes this house on the National Register. So today is August 20th, 2020, or 25th, 2020. And what process did you go through, Judy, to get this house on the National Register?
Well, there's
this farm.
Yeah, there's a pretty good process for getting a property listed on the National Register of Historic Places. So there's a whole nomination that's sent in, and it includes history of the farm and the people, as well as you're required to take pictures of all the buildings and explain how they were used in the past, how they're used today. Then it goes through a review process, and you actually meet with the review board, and then it's finally approved and sent on to Washington, D.C. and signed off there. So yes, our farm, the Firestien farm at Bracewell, was listed on the National Register in 2009. And we sort of combined the names. The Von Trotha brothers were the gentlemen who owned the property back in the day.
And what would they think of all this traffic and noise
and
the best way paving?
Yes.
So how has this property changed as far as the industry? We've got the gravel pits.
A lot of gravel mining going on around us. Part of our former farm was mined for gravel. And then there are properties across the road, really on both sides of us now. Part is being mined over on this side, and there's a new area being mined just to the northeast of us also. So yeah, pretty busy for gravel mining, and 83rd Avenue has become quite the road for traffic, and so it's a little busy out here.
Yeah. So,
it used to be a big curve on a country road, a gravel road, and so yeah, very different than it was.
All right, so I'll move up closer so we can hear you. I understand that you're also much of a historian of Bracewell. So what would you tell us about the history of Bracewell?
Well, I've sort of become the unofficial historian of Bracewell. I've just gathered a lot of information over the years from people who have lived here, as well as some research. So Bracewell originally was a siding on the railroad. I believe it was originally called Hotchkiss for, I believe it was Arthur Hotchkiss, who was a county judge who owned property along the railroad. But then in the late 1800s, Christopher and Mary Bracewell came to the U.S. from England, and so it eventually was named after the Bracewell family. And as Mom had mentioned earlier, there was a Bracewell store, Bracewell school, Bracewell beet dump, apparently some little businesses up there at one point in time also. So I've just, every year I try to do a Bracewell, we call it the community reunion picnic, and so everyone who's lived here is invited to come back and sort of visit with people that used to live here, and new people are invited to come as well and learn a little bit about the history of Bracewell.
So when do you hold the picnic?
It's usually in September. I think there may not be one this year with everything that's going on, but yes, we've been doing it about the second or third weekend
with
in
the
September.
COVID restrictions.
Yeah, we'll probably have to skip it unless we can do some sort of virtual thing or just do a little something. For many years I've put together a little booklet of information, so I may still try to pull together a little bit of information there to share with people. Everyone enjoys looking at old pictures and just remembering some of the history, because there used to be a Bracewell picnic back in the day too, that the owners of the Bracewell store would provide the hot dogs, I believe was the story, and then everyone would bring something for the picnic. So kind of a fun community thing in the past.
So you've seen some changes here.
Quite a few, yes.
What would you suggest to people as historians to do to keep history alive?
I guess just compile as much as you can and talk to people before they're no longer with us, because there's just a lot of great information out there and great stories. Mom was saying earlier how the skating pond that was on our property, I always kind of thought it was just sort of ours, but then I was talking with another neighbor, Harold Eder, who lived kind of on the west to the west of us, and he said he was down there all the time, and when his dad was looking for him to do chores, he was down to the skating pond. So I thought that was just a great story, that everybody was down there hanging out.
Was at the skating pond.
So that was neat to hear.
So
from
what
him.
are the things do you remember growing up and doing on the farm?
The skating pond was a big deal because we would have some gatherings down there sometimes with church. There'd be a bonfire and, a skating party. I had some sheep growing up. There was one lamb that was carried off the truck when some gentleman brought sheep down from Craig for pasturing in the winter, and he couldn't walk. And but the gentleman that owned him said, well, if you can get him to walk, he's yours. And so I worked with him. I gave him back massages, and then my dad helped. We would put him over a bale of hay so he could kind of get his legs moving. And then my mom put an ace bandage on his one front leg that still wasn't quite moving. But then he was able to walk, and he was just our pet for a long time. Lamb Chops was his name.
Lamb Chops.
Yeah,
so
that's
just a great story.
Yeah.
So I know as a collector of history and stories, you probably have some other ones to share with us.
Well, let's see. I've done a lot of research on Bracewell. I sold sweet corn when I was a kid, from about age 13 to college. Helped me put myself through college. So my dad would plant the corn, and then I would end up, picking it, and I would sell it from the front porch, or would take it to farmers markets. So that was kind of a big deal back in the day. Just a lot of, my grandparents lived in this house. So Mom told the story earlier that the house was supposedly built for one of the Von Trother brothers to live in 1926. But I think if you would have talked to my grandpa Cooney, he always kind of made it sound like, the house was built for him. So, but he was kind of a character. So we don't really know the true story of who the farmhouse was built for. But it's seen a lot of activity and a lot of people living here. So.
What kinds of memories do you have at the house with your grandparents? I mean, not many people live and grow up in the yard with their grandparents today.
Well, I had to do a lot of little chores, but I would get a quarter every time I did something, So Grandma Firestien, Mabel, would call and say, come over and help me bring something out of the fruit room in the basement. So I would get to go down there and help her bring stuff up, and maybe I'd get a quarter, and Grandpa Cooney would, I think I'd mow the lawn once in a while and things like that. So, just usual stuff. But yeah, the house was always kind of like, the front part that was only for special occasions, for Christmas and stuff. So it seemed like that part of the house wasn't really used as much as the dining room and kitchen bedroom area. So just a lot of great memories growing up on the farm here. So exploring down by the river and ice skating and animals, dogs, cats, sheep.
So what do you do with your ground presently, your 50 acres?
It's still farmed by my cousin, Mark Firestien, so he still has alfalfa and corn on the property. So we're still a working farm, and that's kind of neat. And of course, we try to do a few activities for related to the historic farm. And we've become a little bit of a wedding party venue too, so people come out and have weddings or graduation parties and enjoy we're away from Greeley, but not that far away, so it's a good location for that, and they can enjoy getting out. So.
Well, I thank you for your time and expertise. Before we close, is there anything that you would like to share? Or?
You went to Windsor High School?
I am a Windsor Wizard, yes. I went to Windsor High School. We were on the edge between Greeley and Eaton, I guess, so we had a Windsor phone number growing up and a Greeley address. But yes, proud graduate of Windsor High School.
You went to CSU?
Yeah. So I should probably document how old you are, or what
yeah, we don't need to go there.
What year did you graduate from high school?
1985.
1985 Windsor High School. Okay, so that gives people a hint. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. We don't need to go into age too much.
But all right. Well, thank you so
Ruth.
much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.